Hello everybody and welcome to my latest Corgi restoration video. This time it's the Corgi 271 James Bond Aston Martin DB5. Now before I start this video I just want to point out I am no expert, it's just something I'm interested in. It's just a little hobby of mine. I'm in no way an expert. You may have already seen the video I did on the 261 Aston Martin from James Bond, the gold one. Now I've had a lot of positive feedback from that video, but I've had a couple of negative feedback from people saying what a rubbish restoration it was, the paintwork's rubbish, you should have done this, you should have done that. Yes, I should. That was my first ever restoration. I'm literally just bringing something that's old and battered back to life just for my own benefit really. It's just a learning curve. So in this video, like I say, we're looking at the 271. Now the reason I wanted to do the video was a couple of reasons really. One was to help out anybody else looking to do a restoration, because I've struggled to find any videos out there on the 271. They've all been on the 261 or the 270, but I've struggled to find anything on the 271. So I'm hoping this video will help out beginners or anybody who's just thinking of doing a restoration and wants to know a bit more about the stripping it down, the components, and things like that. So hopefully that'll help people out. So that's the reason for me doing the video. So this one here on the right is my own personal one that I was I bought it in 1978, which is when it came out, and I have played with it, but I always try to look after it. There's a few little paint chips on it, but everything works. All the gadgets work, so it has been well looked after. Pew! There he goes, and everything's original. This one on the left is one I purchased off eBay for about £3. It wasn't like that this when I got it. I have started to strip it down, so this is the one I'm going to be working on throughout the video. Now the video, it's going to be a video series this, because I'm trying to restore this one using original parts rather than buying the reproduction parts off eBay. So it's going to take me a while to get hold of the spare parts and fit them and paint them and do the different things I need to do. Now one of the first things I want to talk about, and I apologise if you already know about this, but there's so many different variations of the Corgi Aston Martins, as we know, from the gold one to the 270 with the tyre slashers up to the 271, but the 271 on its own also comes in many different variations. Now this one here that I've got, like I say, it's a 1978 model, and the way you can tell this is if you look on the front bonnet there, you can see is the Aston Martin emblem. On the wing there, that is the DB5 badge, and there's the same at the other side. And on the boot lid, just there is the DB5 badge as well. So that's one of the things you can look out for. The 270 doesn't have that. Again, if we just get him out, get the baddie out, he's jammed himself in. Another thing you can look out for is, you can see there, James Bond is black moulded plastic, and then the shirt and bow tie have been painted on along with his face, and I don't know if you can see that, as well as his hands, they've also been painted. That's specific to the 1978 version. When you go up to the 1981 version, the James Bond is, I think it's just his face and hands are painted. The shirt isn't painted, and I think that goes for the same for the baddie as well. You can see the baddie is blue moulded plastic with painted face and shirt and hands and gun. With the 1981 they don't paint it as much. Another thing to look out for is the wheels. These are the 4-spoke whiz wheels, moulded plastic. The tyres are moulded plastic, and the wheel itself, and then coloured silver, chrome. So that's specific to the 1980 model as well. Sorry, the 1978 one. The 1981 model has a different type of wheel. It's not the 4-spoke. So that's something else you can look out for. And of course, made in Great Britain for the 1978 model. The 1981, I'm not sure. They might have gone to China by then, so it doesn't say made in Great Britain on. So those are just little things you can look out for. Because when you look on eBay, they all look very similar, but there's just these little things you can just look out for. Again, like I say, I'm not an expert. I may have got some of that slightly wrong, but I think that's pretty much correct. Right, okay, let's start looking at the separate components. Okay, when I first received this, it was in a pretty bad state. There was no roof. The rear windscreen's cracked. The bumpers at the front and the guns were slightly bent, so that wasn't working correctly. The bulletproof shield at the back is bent, so that needs sorting out. So it's just little things I need to find over time. So what I did is I did the usual thing of drilling out the rivets just enough so it just pops off, so when I fit it all back together again I can just put a blob of super glue on there and paint over it and make it look good. But whilst I was stripping it down, I did start to notice all the different parts, and I'm hoping you can see this okay. I'm just going to try and get that to focus. Let's see if we can get that in focus. You can just see in the middle there, it's difficult to see, there is a part number. That one is 43713 and it has a little 2 above it. And all these different parts, again, there's another one, 43703. And all the separate pieces, somewhere, there is a little part number. I'm sorry about the focus, that was 43712. The windscreen, I can't find a part number on that. But the actual interior, underneath, again, that has 43709-A. And then the ejector seat, I believe is 43710B. So all these different parts have serial numbers on, which I wasn't aware, part numbers, which I wasn't aware of. So that's something you maybe didn't know about, and if you're searching for parts, that might just help you out. So that's just something to consider. Even the trigger switches, the trigger buttons, even these have part numbers on them. That one you can see under there quite easily. This one, I think it's underneath there. I can just see some numbers, but I can't get under there to see the numbers, and I don't really want to pop that out. Something else I've spotted, and I don't know if anybody can tell me the answer to this, but on some of the components they have a little cross on. Like that has a cross on just there. Again, might be difficult to see. You can just see there, there's a cross there. And I have spotted on a couple of other pieces as well that there's a little cross. So if anybody can tell me what that means, I'd be interested to know. Right, I'll just go through the actual components once you strip your 271 down. Obviously you've got the shell of the vehicle, the bodywork. You've got the base plate, including your whiz wheels, your trigger buttons, and also just there, that there is like a little spring plate which you can just see flexing there as you press the trigger switches. So that's important to make sure that's there. You've obviously got the windscreen, you've got the interior including James Bond himself, and the steering wheel, which is just secured with that little lug for each. You've got the ejector seat. This one has the top part of the ejector seat missing, so it doesn't operate properly, and there is sort of like a V spring plate there, so you need to make sure that's present. You've got the front guns and bumpers with the spring, so you need to make sure that's there. You've got the front grille, you've got that little piece which is your rear bumpers, overriders, whatever you want to call them. You've got your bullet shield at the back with the spring, and then you've got the rear sort of bumper trim piece, and I am missing the roof of mine and the baddie as well. So those are your oh, one other thing, in the back there, just there is two of those spring plates which just slot in. It took me ages to find out where they went because they'd fallen out and I couldn't find where they went, and then I eventually sussed it out. So they slot into there. There's two of them together. I think that's just to create a stronger spring rather than just one on its own. So they just drop into place. So you need to make sure you've got those and they are fitted. Once they're in, they do hold in place. So those are your components. Just a quick point on these components. These two pieces, the rear bumper trim and the grille, they're just plastic, moulded plastic. And you can see there some of the chrome is starting to come off and it's showing just the plastic underneath, so I need to think about what I'm going to do with them. These other three components, these are all metal. Right, onto the bodywork. Now you can see I've stripped the paint off because it was in bad shape. Now because I'm only learning, I've only done one restoration before, I actually stripped the paint off painstakingly with paint stripper. I have since found you can use caustic soda and boiling water in like a plastic bowl, and that gets the paint off much quicker and easier. So that's what I'm going to try next time. But I've got all the paint off. Now I did find on this one, I don't know whether you can see, but this sort of pillar here is cracked there and there. Can probably just make that out, but I thought about soldering it, but I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to leave it once it's painted up. But then that was another thing. I thought about just leaving it like that, not painting it at all, making it a sort of rough and ready restoration without actually painting any of the components. Sort of a rat rod type of style. I might do that, I might not. I may get another one of these and do a complete restoration, and I may do one that's just going to be bare, just bare bones. But I'll decide on that as I go along. But I am going to get some more of these because I do like working on them. So that's the bodywork. So that's all ready now for going on to whatever stage I decide to do. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to just touch up these wheels because you can see the chrome paint, silver paint has really gone. So I'm just cleaning any flaky paint off, and then I'll just touch them up with a bit of silver paint. Right, okay, that's the wheels all touched up now. I think they do look better from a distance. They do look chromed. Probably not the exact paint I should be using, but I think that looks alright. Right, well, all 4 wheels are done now, so that's one job out of the way. We can move on to the next job now. Okay, I'm now in the workshop, and you can see that this is the Bulletproof Shield. You can see it's got a bend in it. See there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in the vise and try and straighten that up. Okay, that didn't work. There's obviously too much spring in this. It's just springing it back. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try holding it on there, putting that piece of wood over the top, and then just tapping it back into shape using this little hammer. See if that makes a difference. Okay, that method was much more successful. You can see now that's pretty good. It's not perfect, and that's about as straight as I'm going to get it. I'm quite happy with that. Right, let's give this a little clean up now, and then we'll move on to the guns, front guns that are bent. You can see there that the left hand one is really bent over, and the right hand one is bent slightly as well. Now what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to use the hammer again, the small hammer, and just support those bumper rails and tap them until I can get them straight. Right, this was tricky again. I ended up just placing it on the vise, using it as an anvil, and just tapping with the hammer. The bumper bars and the guns were slightly out as well. So I've managed to get it reasonably straight now. Still a bit of a bend in one of them bumper bars, but it's very difficult to get out. Getting the component on the vise in a certain way so you can just tap a certain part, like tap the bumper without damaging the guns, is quite difficult. But that's a lot better than it was before, and I think that will function okay now. But we'll have to fit it and just try it and see how we get on. Right, okay, let's have an update. So I'm going to try and keep this together as best I can. So I've repainted the grille and the bumper as per the original. Now the gold isn't quite the same, but I don't know, I just think it looks more authentic than the chrome finish to the gold on the original, if you understand what I mean. But now I've also, as you can see, I've straightened up the bumper bars there and the guns, and I've also straightened the bullet shield. I've fitted it back in situ, so this now works perfect. And the guns at the front, perfect. What I've done is I've put a touch of oil on all the components. I'll show you inside in a minute, and it just makes them work a lot easier. Now the bullet shield at the back was painted, but I've stripped the paint off just back to bare metal. I think what I'm going to do is this is going to be a rough and ready restoration. I think I'm going to keep the bodywork like that. I do like it. I know all you purists out there will be thinking, oh, you've got to put it back to how it was. But although I've repainted the wheels, because that really needed it, because it was showing the plastic, like the yellow plastic coming through. It didn't look good at all. Same with the grille and the bumpers. They were all yellow plastic and it didn't look good. So they definitely needed painting. But the guns, and again I've just rubbed them with with a wire brush, and they've come really good. I quite like them like that. Same with the Bulletproof Shield at the back. I just like the look of it. It looks more like what it does on the film. Again, with the rear bumpers I've done the same. So I think I'm going to keep it like that, in that finish. I will do another one and I'll do it properly, but this one I think I'm going to just leave it like that. Right, let's take the body shell off and I'll show you all the inner workings. Right, I'm going to show you this as best I can. If we turn it over, take the base plate off. So if you're going to do one of these yourself, I mean, obviously when you strip it down you need to take a lot of photographs and you can see how it goes back, but hopefully this will show you, because it took me a little while just to wrap my head around it, but it's pretty straightforward once you know what you're doing. So if we start at the rear, you've got this little plastic trim with those little pegs facing down, and then you've got the bumper arrangement, which is that piece, and that little grooved bit there below the ring, this little bit here, that groove goes over that little lug there in the middle of these two, so that sits on there over the top of the spring, and you've got them two spring clips in there, they need to be in there, and then you've got the spring and the bullet shield itself, so that goes on there, that goes over the top, and again I've just put little dabs of very fine oil just on all the workings, and that sits on there. And then at the front it's a little bit fiddly, as you have to put the guns through the grill. Again, I've put some oil on. At first I thought it was going to stick, it was catching a bit, but it works really well. You've got that spring that just sits in there, and the whole lot goes over that pin. And I thought, how's it going to work that? I couldn't work out it was going to work, but it's literally, it just fits in with this trigger mechanism here, and that trigger there obviously sits just behind this bit here, so when it goes on, pushes back, and it just works. Really clever. So that's the front and rear gadgets. Obviously I can't do the ejector seat yet because the ejector seat is broken, so I need to wait until I get that particular part. So I need to find another one of these cheap to use the parts, and anything else I've got left over I can use for future restorations. So that's where we're up to. So that's as far as I'm going to go on this particular episode, until I've got the new components to continue the restoration. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you found it of use if you're thinking of doing a restoration yourself. Well, thanks for watching. Please leave a comment, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.